Hello and welcome to the Killgerm podcast. Once again we're recording remotely due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, and joining me this time is Daniel Lightfoot. Dan is the UK business manager for Syngenta and has been for 5.5 years now, and Syngenta are the business who are responsible for bringing you product ranges such as Advion and Talon. Dan's here to chat about the newest addition to the Syngenta products range, the Outcast Ant Station. So thank you for joining me today, Dan. Let's get straight into it. Now, before we get into the use of the actual product, the active ingredients and things like that, I just want to ask you how ant stations control colonies. Individual ants coming and ingesting the bait is going to do very little on the grand scheme to control the entire problem. So how does that work?
Yeah, I think it's one of the really interesting parts about the active ingredient, indoxacarb. As you say, probably ants consuming the bait and dying through consumption alone isn't really what has the big impact. And indoxacarb works in a way where the way the ants feed by trophallaxis, they will pass the active ingredient to each other. So the ant will eat it, go back, the ants will share food, and by that point share the active ingredient. And it's that process that kind of gets the greater impact and is able to kill much more of the colony than the individual ant itself. And I think if you look at, well, it's an interesting, we've been looking at the R number in COVID-19 and looking at getting the R number below 1. But I guess in this particular case, you'd like the R number to be well above 1. What you're trying to do is get the ant to then go back from the bait station and infect essentially as many of the other ants as possible. And I think one of the key points about the active ingredient is that indoxacarb is bioactivated. So what happens is that the ant has an enzyme in its stomach that basically converts what is a non-toxic active ingredient. So when it's consumed, it's not toxic. And there's an enzyme that breaks a little bit off of the active ingredient to enhance the way that it works. And so then it becomes toxic. And that time delay, or that time process by where that happens, that allows the ant time to get back to the colony and have a greater colony kill. If, for example, if you look at something like in rodenticides like alpha chlorelose, that works incredibly fast, whereas rodenticides like difecuum are designed to take a little bit longer. And so what you don't want the ant dying immediately as soon as it leaves the bait station, because then it isn't able to have that colony kill. So the active ingredient in indoxacarb that takes a little bit longer, as well as the safety element in and around houses, is really, really good because it allows that time to get greater colony control. It's the PCO's responsibility to explain that process to the customer. There's loads of benefits from a safety point of view. There's loads of benefits from a colony point of view, but it's just explaining that they won't just see dead ants just outside the bait station, and maybe that's what the customer might want, but what they really want is a greater colony kill. So yeah, there's a process by which that happens, and indoxacarb works in a really good way to allow that.
Yeah, I think that is important in terms of educating the consumer as well. Like you said, just because there's not loads of dead ants everywhere all across the property doesn't mean that it's not working, because it works in a different manner, doesn't it? So I think, like you said, the pest controller sort of has a responsibility to educate the customer, really, and so that they know how it's actually working. Otherwise, they're just going to think, they're getting no result from it.
No, you're really right. And I think one of the interesting things for us is that when we're at events like Pest Tech and PPC Live or Pest X, or a Killgerm workshop, one of the questions we always get is, well, why would we pick Advion over something else? And it really is about understanding the active ingredients. Why would we pick Advion over this or that? And generally, when you look at insecticides, I think that the real difference with those is the active ingredients. They all work in a slightly different way in terms of speed of kill, or the way that they kill, or the way that they work on the nervous system. And so for me, I think that one of the real important things is for the pest controller to understand the active ingredient, because it's a brilliant active, especially for in and around the home and around in homes with kids and pets. So it's a fabulous active for that. But understanding the active ingredient, understand how it works, and then communicating that to the customer. And then it really makes the PCO seem really knowledgeable, really good understanding of what's happening. And also then the customer's really confident about the results that they're going to get and what they should see and what maybe they won't see. And I always feel that the pest controllers that, really get the best feedback are the ones that are really good at communicating to the customer about what's going to happen and how it happens. Syngenta's got lots of information on the website to be able to support that. So if you do want to ever find out any more, then the Syngenta website's pretty good. But also they can get that from Killgerm and the technical team. But it's really understanding the active ingredients and how they work, I always find is the key part, especially with insecticides.
It's clear to me after just a few minutes of recording here that you're very passionate about this active ingredient indoxacarb. Could you just speak a little more on that?
I think it's just fascinating. As the UK business manager for Syngenta, I work with and look at lots and lots of active ingredients, and we look at all the way that all of them work, and we look at how they work on the insects or how they work on a disease or how they work on any part of the pest that you're trying to control. And indoxacarb for me is just fabulous in terms of the way it works. It's probably the most unique, interesting, mind-blowing chemistry, really. And so what happens is it's an oxidizine chemistry and is a really novel mode of action. And because the reason why is it requires bioactivation by the insect to work. So what happens is, as I maybe spoke about before, is that the cockroach or the ant, in this particular case, has an enzyme in its stomach that changes the active ingredient from a non-toxic active to a toxic active that then kills it. And that enzyme means it's very targeted and very specific to the insect. And so therefore, why I think this works really, really well is in schools or houses or anywhere where there's potentially children or pets, because the pets or the children don't have that enzyme which would basically activate the active ingredient. So it provides a fabulous level of safety for pest controllers in those kind of environments. There are other active ingredients that maybe work faster or better in terms of speed of kill. But if you're looking for something that has a really good safety profile, then it's fabulous. And the other real benefit of that safety profile is the time delay. So that time where the insect eats the active ingredient, it then gets broken down into a toxic active ingredient and then kills the insect. That time delay allows the pest to go back to the harborage, die there, and then potentially control more of the colony rather than just the one on its own. So I think it's got a great safety profile, but it also gets much more colony control. And I think in some trials we did recently, especially for cockroaches, I think potentially one cockroach can control 74 cockroaches as part of a tertiary control through that particular process. And so I think it's got two really good main points that make it fantastic. It's the novel chemistry, but really for me, it's about the safety and the colony control.
Yeah, I noticed when I was researching for this podcast that the Outcast Ant Station is actually suitable for non-professional use. So where is the advantage for the pest controller?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting question, and one we've given a lot of thought to. I think, being a pest controller, I think that I would think, I don't really want that. That's for amateurs. That's not for us. That's not what we want. But I think it has a really good place. I think we sell a product, Advianant, which is the main professional pest control product. We sell it exclusively through Killgerm, and it's been a brilliant and it is a brilliant product, same active ingredient for professionals. And I think that is still the frontline product and the product that people should use for general ant pest control in and around the house. But I do think there's a great opportunity for that additional security and safety for the customer, whereby the pest controller can go in, do the amount of work that it needs to do to control the infestation, but then also, just as as a leave behind, they're able to go and say to the customer, look, I've done everything need be, I've sorted everything out. If, for example, we've missed something, or that there's a bit we haven't got total control of, I'll leave behind these. You can use them. They're for amateur use. And as a leave behind or a sell on, I think they're an absolutely fabulous tool for a pest controller. And I do actually think, although it would seem like not the right thing to do in terms of that, when it maybe hints at the fact that the pest controller hasn't quite done it properly. I think it's a brilliant product to provide that full, well-rounded customer support strategy that would really help. It just makes the pest controller feel like that they've done a really well-rounded job, but also the customer feels that they've got all the security that they need to be able to, have to use a Syngenta tagline, for life uninterrupted by pests. They can do that bit as well. I think it just provides a really good all-round solution.
So you mentioned cockroaches just then, which is obviously the other Advian product. Forgive me for perhaps showing a little bit of naivety here, but the active ingredient is the same. So is it not just the same product?
No, it's a really good question, actually. And no, they're very different. The active ingredient is the same, but the amount of active ingredient in the 30-gram tubes is very different. Obviously, as you can imagine, the cockroach is much larger, so you would need slightly more active ingredient to get the same amount of control. So it's 0.6% in the Advian cockroach, but it's only 0.05% in Doxacarb in the Advian ant. But the main difference is the formulation. If you look at the Advian ant formulation, if you just held them up side by side, you'd see that the Advian ant formulation is quite clear. It's like a watercolor, just like a kind of slightly, kind of off watercolor, and the Advian cockroach is a kind of dark cream color. The formulations are really what gives it the oomph, really, to kind of get the control. What happens is that the ants really like a watery formulation. It doesn't last anywhere near as long, so you need to. If you took the Advian cockroach, the formulation is still pretty good, even if you left it out for a year. It's still really palatable, works really, really well, and the cockroaches will generally eat it. But ants are a bit more fussy, so therefore they need a formulation that's a lot more watery and therefore much more suited to what they would like to consume. And so you have a much more watery formulation, which is why it's a different color. So we really make sure that each product has a formulation that's suitable for the pest. And in this particular case, the Advian ant one is really designed to make sure that it works as well as it can. I think also it's why the Advian Ant Station works really, really well, because it works when you press the button on the top, so the formulation is very much captured and only kind of ignited when you press the button. So it does tend to work well in that kind of environment. But yeah, same active ingredient, two different formulations, very much designed per pest.
Okay, so what are the benefits of the physical design of the ant station?
The benefits of the ant station are quite interesting, actually. I think one of the real benefits for me is they're quite small and they're very light and they're very easy to put in a variety of different places. I think that works. They see in lab tests, what we've noticed is that that the ants particularly find them very easy to get in and be able to consume the kind of reservoir of Advian ant that's in them. I do think that one of my favourite things is the fact that they're very much kind of activated by the customer. So then you tear the end off to make sure the ants can have access, and there is a clear pressing of the button to break the seal and put the indoxacarb into the reservoir and allow the ants to feed on it. I think it's quite an enjoyable process to be able to kind of turn it on, as it were, and then leave it ready. I think that's great. One thing I would say, that they are very, very light and very easy to use, but therefore we just need to be a bit careful when leaving them outside or anywhere when they can kind of be kicked or moved. We're currently trying to develop a little kind of stand for them that might be a bit more useful as a kind of that we're able to supply with it. But I think, yeah, they're great. They're really light, really easy to use. But I guess with that, it just, be careful that they're just left in places where they're not able to be kind of, move somewhere else, really. I think that's the most important thing. Also, they're very secure, and then they're not able, no children or whatever aren't able to get their fingers into them or do anything to kind of access the active ingredient. So all in all, really well designed. We spent a lot of time on it. We spent a lot of time coming up with the right design, and we're really proud of what we've got.
So where is it actually suitable for use then?
So one of the advantages of being amateur and professional as a product is that it's pretty much suitable for use in, in and around the home, anywhere really, and outdoors. For me, it's very much an indoor product in terms of finding somewhere that would be out of the way, where you see that the ants are coming in and out, and for putting it there. I think to be honest, I don't really like to say to a pest controller where we think it should go. Obviously, the label's very clear on where it's allowed and where it's not. But this is the time when we get asked a lot, what do you think about this and what do you think about that? And I always like to put this back to the pest controller. They're the experts. They're the people who know the job. They're the people that really understand what's going on. And I really feel that it's about reading the label, making sure that you've got a really good understanding of where it can go and where it can't, and then the pest controller thinking about what's the right place for it to go and putting it as part of its overall integrated strategy. I think that's the case. I don't like to be prescriptive over those kind of things. I think we have to really respect the pest controller's education, knowledge, understanding, and real kind of professionalism in what they do. And I think it really comes to them understanding what's best. And I spend more time getting enjoyment from them telling me about how they've used it rather than me telling them the other way around. Really, it's about creating that framework. It's about saying that here's the label, this is what you can do. Now you use your experience and you use your expertise to be able to get the best out of it. I think that's the same with rodenticides. It's the same with insecticides. It's the same with all pest control products. We try and get a regulatory to provide them the widest framework possible within the rules to be able to allow them to, kind of use the product. And then once we've done that, it's really up to their skills and expertise to get the best out of it. And it really is, the better the pest controller, the better they get out of the product in a lot of ways. And that understanding of how it all works. And knowledge is power, as they say.
Absolutely. So does it control all ant species?
Okay. So, generally the product is designed to fit all ant feeding preferences. So that does give it a really wide range of ants that are controlled. I think one of the benefits about Advian ant and therefore Outcast ant is the wide range of control. But it really, Argentine ants, big-headed, carpenter, cornfield, crazy, field, honey, little black ants, odorous house ants, pavement ants, pyramid ants, red imported fire ants, thief ants, and white-footed ants are just some of the ones on my wonderful list that I've got here. But in reality, I think if you look in the UK, what people are trying to control, I think the black ants, the Lasus niger, is one of the key ones that people are looking for, and that the control of that is excellent. I think in all these things, it's important to be really honest about what it does and what it doesn't do. And I think Pharaoh ants, it's not the best at, and I wouldn't say it's absolutely brilliant. And if we get asked a lot, does it do Pharaoh ants? And it's difficult for me to say, oh, yes, it does, when I don't think the control is probably as good as some other products. So if you're looking to control Pharaoh ants, and maybe, do a lot of investigation into what active ingredients probably best for that. But generally for black ants and for garden ants that people, and in the main, probably a lot of amateurs are looking to control, then it's a fabulous product for that and works really, really well. So, really good for the UK market, definitely.
So the most common ants that we're getting in the UK?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for the common ants in the UK, then it has really good control of all of the ones that you're likely to come across.
And I'm assuming that all the information is going to be available on the Syngenta app.
Yeah, well, I think one of the important things for us is to make sure we've got a wide available of information that people can access. So we have a Syngenta website, and also realistically for us, Killgerm is a fabulous place to go and get information. The technical team there and all the area sales managers are absolutely brilliant in terms of providing the right support, the right advice, and everything that you might need from a support point of view. So for me, we always kind of recommend that people go to Killgerm because the support for the Advian product there is fantastic, and it's really good. However, if you want to get some information on the fly, you can download the Syngenta Pest App. It's a new app that we've just developed, and it's available on the App Store. So if you just type in Syngenta Pest App and go on there, then it's brilliant. It has all the information you need, the label, the MSDS. It has a calculator for how you can work out how much you need for a certain job. And it has some videos of best use. So yeah, the Syngenta app is where we tried to provide a really kind of handy, on-the-job support network through Syngenta, and then coupled with the Killgerm technical support, then hopefully everything's covered.
And is the app free?
Yeah, no, the app is free. That's what I really like about the fact that it's a free app. It's just there to support pest controllers that use Syngenta products in the best way that we can. So I think that's kind of the Syngenta motto, really, to try and make sure that we support as best we can. So, that was what the app was designed for, and totally free. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Dan. It's always nice to be able to help spread the information on developments in the industry, and I think you've done a really good job there of informing people about this new product and how it works and the benefit for them, really. So, yeah, thank you for that.
No, it's been really great. I've really appreciated it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. For more information on the Outcast Ant Station, either get in touch with Killgerm's technical team, as Dan said during the podcast, or head over to the Killgerm website where there's full information there. The code you'll need for basis prompt CPD points for this episode of the Killgerm podcast is SD-OC-0520. That's SD-OC-0520. For full instructions on how to redeem CPD points for either basis prompt or the BPCA, then head over to either of the first 2 episodes of the Killgerm podcast where I explain in full. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.